In the vast, uncharted expanse of the galaxy, where stars whispered secrets to those daring enough to listen, Commander Jax Harlan piloted his sleek scout ship through the shimmering veil of hyperspace. He was a man forged in the fires of Earth's endless conflicts, a rugged explorer with eyes like storm clouds and a jaw set in perpetual defiance. Humanity had spread its wings across the cosmos, but Jax preferred the solitude of the unknown, chasing anomalies that promised adventure or peril. Little did he know, on this fateful journey, peril would come wrapped in the allure of forbidden desire. The alarm blared suddenly, ripping through the calm hum of his engines. Red lights flashed across the console as his ship lurched, caught in an invisible web. "What the hell?" Jax muttered, his fingers flying over the controls. Sensors screamed of a tractor beam, powerful and unyielding, dragging him toward a colossal structure that materialized from the void, a sprawling orbital palace, adorned with spires that gleamed like diamonds under alien suns. The Empire of Thalor, he realized with a chill. Whispers of their tyranny had reached even the farthest human outposts, a race of ethereal beings who ruled with telepathic iron fists, enslaving worlds to fuel their opulent domain. Before he could arm his defenses, his ship was swallowed into a docking bay, the hull groaning under the force. Armed guards, tall, lithe figures with pale skin that shimmered like moonlight, swarmed him. Their ears tapered to delicate points, like those of ancient earth elves, and their eyes glowed with an otherworldly violet hue. They moved with graceful precision, their weapons humming with energy that could vaporize flesh in an instant. Jax fought back instinctively, his fists connecting with one guard's jaw in a satisfying crack, but numbers overwhelmed him. A stun blast hit his chest, and darkness claimed him. He awoke in chains, kneeling on a floor of polished obsidian that reflected the grandeur of the throne room around him. Massive columns rose to a domed ceiling painted with constellations unknown to human maps. At the far end, upon a throne carved from crystalline rock, sat the King of Thalor, a towering figure with a crown of living vines that pulsed with bioluminescent light. His face was stern, etched with the weight of centuries, his telepathic aura pressing against Jax's mind like a vice, but it was the two women flanking him that stole Jax's breath. Princess Sierra, the elder, stood with an air of regal command, her long white hair cascading like a waterfall over her shoulders. Her skin was flawless porcelain, her body curved in ways that spoke of both strength and seduction. Clad in a gown of flowing silver fabric that clung to her form, leaving little to the imagination, elegant slits revealing glimpses of toned legs, and a neckline that plunged daringly low. Her sister, Zara, mirrored her in beauty but with a spark of mischief in her violet eyes. Younger by mere cycles, Zara's attire was even more provocative, an ensemble of translucent veils and jeweled accents that highlighted her lithe, gamine figure, her small, pointed ears adorned with glowing gems. They were visions of alien allure, beings who could command empires or break hearts with a glance. "Human," the king's voice boomed, echoing not just in the air but in Jax's thoughts, an invasive probe that made him grit his teeth. "You have trespassed into Thalorian space. By ancient decree, intruders must prove their worth or perish." Jax lifted his head, meeting the king's gaze without flinching. "I've heard of your hospitality. Mind if I skip the execution and just grab my ship back?" A ripple of amusement, or was it annoyance, passed through the court. Sierra stepped forward, her voice like silk over steel. "Father, this one is intriguing. His mind resists our probes. Perhaps he is the one foretold in the stars, the outsider who could strengthen our bloodline." Zara leaned in, her lips curving into a sly smile. "Yes, sister, look at him. Strong, defiant. Human vitality could invigorate our lineage." The king's eyes narrowed. "Very well, Commander Jax Harlan of Earth, you stand before the galactic royal decree. To atone for your intrusion and to merge our empire's fates, you must wed my daughters, Sierra and Zara. Bind your essence to theirs in the sacred union, or face annihilation before me here and now." Jax's heart pounded, a mix of outrage and inexplicable intrigue. Marry these ethereal princesses? The idea was absurd, intoxicating. Their gazes held him, Sierra's intense and commanding, Zara's playful and teasing. He could feel the pull, a subtle telepathic whisper urging compliance, but humanity's stubborn spark burned brighter. "And if I refuse, you think a human bows that easily?" The king rose, his presence filling the room like a storm. "Refusal means death, but acceptance could mean power beyond your wildest dreams." As guards advanced, weapons primed, Jax's mind raced. He wasn't just any human. He was an innovator, a survivor. In his pocket, concealed from their scans, was a prototype neural disruptor, a gadget he'd tinkered with during lonely voyages, designed to jam psychic interference. If he could activate it, the tension hung thick. The princess's eyes locked on him with a hunger that went beyond politics. Sierra's hand brushed Zara's, a silent exchange of anticipation. Jax smirked inwardly. Aliens proposing marriage. Humans proposed something far more revolutionary, freedom, but as the king's decree echoed, Jax knew this was no simple escape. The air crackled with possibility, the scent of exotic blooms mingling with the metallic tang of impending conflict. What would he choose, submission to beauty, or defiance that could shatter an empire? The throne room seemed to hold its breath, waiting for his answer. Sierra tilted her head, her white hair shifting like moonlight on water, revealing the elegant curve of her neck. "Choose wisely, human," she murmured, her voice a caress in his mind. "We could show you pleasures unknown to your kind." Zara giggled softly, a sound like tinkling crystals. "Or we could watch you burn. Either way, it's entertaining." Jax's chains chafed against his wrists as he straightened, his muscles coiling like a predator ready to strike. He scanned the room, the guards' formations, the subtle hum of energy fields, the princess's expectant postures. His disruptor was a gamble, untested against Thalorian tech, but desperation bred ingenuity. "I appreciate the offer," he said, his tone laced with sarcasm that cut through the telepathic haze, "but I've got a counter-proposal." Before the king could respond, Jax twisted his bound hands, activating the hidden device with a flick of his thumb. A low whine built, then exploded in a wave of electromagnetic static. The guards clutched their heads, their telepathic links fracturing. The king's face contorted in pain, his vines wilting slightly. Chaos erupted. Alarms wailed as enslaved attendants, beings from conquered worlds, their collars glowing with suppression fields, suddenly blinked in confusion, their minds freed from the Empire's grip. Sierra and Zara staggered, their violet eyes widening in shock. "What have you done?" Sierra demanded, but there was a flicker of admiration in her gaze. Jax broke free of his chains in the confusion, grabbing a fallen guard's weapon. "I've evened the odds. Now, let's talk about real alliances." The room descended into pandemonium, blasters firing wildly as liberated slaves turned on their oppressors. Jax dodged a bolt, rolling behind a column, his heart racing not just from the fight, but from the way the princesses watched him, curiosity blooming into something deeper, more primal. In that moment, as he fought for his life, Jax realized this was no mere escape. It was the beginning of a saga where humans could topple thrones and win hearts forged in the stars. The battle spilled outward, Jax leading a makeshift charge through the palace corridors. Slaves, furry bipeds from Zavara, scaled warriors from Urindor rallied to him, their suppressed rage igniting like a supernova. "For freedom!" one shouted, echoing Jax's defiant cry. Sierra and Zara, torn between loyalty and the thrill of rebellion, exchanged glances. Zara's lips parted in excitement. "He's magnificent," she whispered. Sierra nodded, her composure cracking. Perhaps the decree was fate's jest. "Come, sister, we must see where this leads." As Jax blasted through a door, the princesses followed, their gowns swirling like comet tails. The Empire trembled, and in the heat of pursuit, bonds began to form, fragile, electric, promising ecstasy and upheaval. But the king was not defeated yet. From his throne, he summoned reinforcements, his telepathic roar shaking the foundations. Jax pressed on, his invention's pulse weakening but holding. Ahead lay the heart of the palace, where true power awaited. The chase wove through labyrinthine halls adorned with holographic tapestries depicting Thalorian conquests. Jax's breath came in ragged bursts, but adrenaline fueled him. A guard lunged. He parried with the stolen blaster, sending the alien sprawling. Behind him, Sierra's voice cut through the din. "Human, wait." He glanced back, seeing the sisters navigating the fray with surprising agility. Zara leaped over a fallen body, her veils fluttering, revealing flashes of her lithe form that distracted even in battle. Sierra wielded a ceremonial dagger, her movements precise and deadly, dispatching a loyalist with ease. "Why follow me?" Jax yelled over the chaos. "Because you've awakened something in us," Zara replied, her eyes sparkling. "The decree was a chain, you've offered a key." They caught up as Jax reached a sealed vault, the Empire's control nexus, where telepathic amplifiers enslaved billions. Guards barred the way, but with the princess's insider knowledge, they breached it. Inside, crystals hummed with psychic energy. Jax tinkered frantically with his disruptor, adapting it to overload the system. Sparks flew, the air ionized. Sierra placed a hand on his shoulder, her touch sending a jolt through him, not telepathic, but electric. Human-alien chemistry igniting. It's working, she breathed, her white hair brushing his cheek. Zara flanked his other side, her presence warm and teasing. Hurry, lover-to-be, father's wrath approaches. The device peaked, and a shockwave rippled out, shattering the crystals. Across the empire, slaves awoke fully, revolutions sparking on distant worlds, but the king burst in, his form augmented by armor, eyes blazing. Traitors, you dare defy the decree. The final standoff loomed, Jack standing between the monarch and his daughters, the air thick with tension and unspoken desires. What would come next, victory, or a twist of fate that bound them all? As the king's forces closed in, Jax felt the princess's hands slip into his, a silent vow. The battle for Thalor and for hearts had only just begun. As the king's armored form loomed like a thundercloud in the shattered Nexus chamber, his eyes blazing with unholy fury, Jack squeezed the princess's hands tighter, feeling the warmth of their alien skin against his calloused palms, a stark contrast that sent an unexpected shiver through him. Sierra's grip was firm, commanding, her fingers interlacing with his in a way that spoke of possession and promise, while Zara's was lighter, almost playful, her thumb tracing a subtle circle on his wrist that ignited sparks along his nerves. The air hummed with residual energy from the disrupted crystals, fragments glittering on the floor like fallen stars, and in that charged moment, Jax could sense the shift, the Empire's iron control fracturing, but the real storm was just brewing. Betrayers! The king roared, his voice a psychic boom that rattled Jax's skull, though weakened now without his amplifiers. Reinforcements poured in, elite guards clad in shimmering exosuits, their weapons crackling with plasma arcs. The room, once a sanctuary of power, became a battlefield, holographic displays flickering erratically as blasts scorched the walls. Jax yanked the princesses behind a toppled console, his body shielding theirs instinctively. "Stay low," he whispered urgently, his breath hot against Sierra's ear. She turned her head slightly, her white hair brushing his lips, and for a heartbeat, their gazes locked, her violet depths swirling with a mix of defiance and desire. "You think we need protection, human," she murmured, her voice low and husky, laced with amusement that belied the danger. But there was something else there, a hunger that made Jax's pulse quicken, her proximity stirring thoughts he had no time for. Zara peeked over the edge, her lithe form pressing against Jax's side, the thin veils of her gown whispering against his uniform. "Father's guards are telepathically linked, or were. Your little toy broke that, didn't it?" She flashed a grin, mischievous and intoxicating, her small pointed ears twitching as if catching echoes of the chaos. A blast grazed the console, showering them with sparks, and Jax fired back, his stolen blaster humming in his grip. The shot felled a guard, who crumpled with a guttural cry but more advanced. "We need to move," Jax said, his mind racing through escape routes. The Nexus led to service tunnels, Zara had mentioned them earlier in the fray, but as they dashed toward a side panel, the king hurled a psychic wave, a remnant of his power that slammed into Jax like a tidal force, blurring his vision. He stumbled, catching himself on Sierra's arm, his hand sliding up her bare shoulder, feeling the smooth, warm texture of her skin, almost silken under his touch. She steadied him, her body close, curves molding against him in the urgency of the moment. "I've got you," she breathed, her lips inches from his. The scent of her, like exotic night-blooming flowers, filling his senses, making his head spin more than the attack. The erotic tension coiled tighter amid the suspense, every brush of contact amplified by the adrenaline. Zara slipped ahead, her hips swaying with feline grace as she pried open the panel with a hidden lever, revealing a dimly lit tunnel veined with glowing conduits. "This way, it'll lead to the hangar bays." But as they crawled inside, the king's voice echoed behind them, "You cannot flee destiny, daughters. The human will be mine to crush." The tunnel was narrow, forcing them into single file, bodies brushing in the confined space. Jax followed Zara, his eyes drawn to the way her translucent veils clung to her form, outlining the elegant arch of her back and the subtle sway of her movements. She glanced back, catching his gaze, and winked. "Enjoying the view, Commander? In Thalor, we don't hide our attractions, it's inefficient." Her words were teasing, laced with a sultry undertone that made Jax's throat dry. Suspense hung in the air like humidity. At any moment, pursuers could burst through. Sierra brought up the rear, her presence a constant reminder of power and allure. When the tunnel widened slightly, she pressed close during a brief pause, her hand resting on Jax's lower back to urge him forward. "Your invention, it's brilliant," she whispered, her breath warm on his neck. But brilliance alone won't save us. We need trust. Her fingers lingered, tracing a light path down his spine, sending electric tingles that blurred the line between ally and something more intimate. Jax turned halfway, their faces close in the dim glow, and he could see the flush on her porcelain cheeks, not from fear, but from the raw energy between them. They emerged into a maintenance bay, where enslaved workers, now freed from their mental shackles, were sabotaging equipment, turning tools into weapons. Cheers rose as they recognized the princesses, but the moment shattered when alarms blared anew. King's loyalists stormed in from elevated catwalks, firing down with precision. Jax dove for cover, pulling Zara with him behind a crate. She landed atop him, her body soft and yielding against his hardness, her white hair spilling over his chest like a cascade of silk. For a suspended instant, amid the laser fire, their eyes met, hers wide with surprise, then narrowing with a playful heat. If we survive this, human, I might demand that decree myself. She purred, her lips brushing his earlobe as she rolled off, but not before her hand grazed his thigh, intentional and bold. Sierra joined them, her dagger flashing as she deflected a bolt. Focus, sister, though, he's proving quite the distraction. The words carried a jealous edge, but also invitation, heightening the erotic undercurrent. Jax's mind whirled, suspense from the encroaching forces, desire from these ethereal women who viewed him not as prey, but as a tantalizing equal. He rigged a nearby console with his disruptor remnants, creating a feedback loop that shorted the catwalk's supports. Metal groaned and collapsed, burying several guards in debris, buying them time. Deeper into the palace they fled, the architecture shifting from opulent to utilitarian, corridors lined with humming life support systems. Whispers of rebellion echoed, slaves communicating via makeshift comms, inspired by the humans' defiance. But the king was cunning. He deployed hunter drones, sleek orbs that zipped through vents, their scanners piercing shadows. One drone cornered them in a storage alcove, its red eye locking on. Jax smashed it with a pipe, but not before it grazed Zara's arm, drawing a thin line of iridescent blood. She winced, and Jax was there, tearing a strip from his uniform to bind it. "Hold still," he said softly, his fingers gentle on her skin, feeling the rapid pulse beneath. She leaned into him, her body trembling not just from pain, but from the intimacy. "Your touch, it's different, warmer, more alive," she murmured, her violet eyes half-lidded, lips parted invitingly. Sierra watched, her own desire evident, stepping closer to place a hand on Jax's shoulder. "Let me help." Together, they tended the wound, hands overlapping, breaths mingling in the confined space, a moment of erotic suspense. The drone's wreckage smoking nearby as distant footsteps approached. The king's psychic taunts invaded their minds sporadically. "Surrender, and I'll make your union pleasurable," but Jax pushed back, his human resilience a wall. They pressed onto the royal quarters, where Sierra knew of a hidden armory. The room was lavish, beds draped in luxurious fabrics, scents of aphrodisiac incense lingering. As they armed themselves, Jax grabbing a plasma rifle, the princesses donning lightweight armor that accentuated their figures, tension built. Zara tested a vibroblade, her movements fluid and seductive, slicing the air with grace that made Jax's blood heat. "We can't run forever," Sierra said, her voice a sultry whisper as she adjusted his strap, fingers lingering on his chest. "Father will seal the palace. We fight here, or—" She trailed off, her body inches from his, the erotic pull undeniable amid the suspense of impending siege. A squad burst in, and battle resumed, Jax's shots precise, Sierra's dagger dances lethal, Zara's agility dodging blasts. In the melee, Jax saved Sierra from a flanking attack, tackling her to the ground, their bodies entwined in a protective embrace. Her curves pressed against him, breath ragged, and in that heartbeat of stillness amid chaos, she whispered, "You're more than a hero, Jax, you're irresistible." Her lips grazed his jaw, a promise of more. Suspending time in erotic anticipation, they repelled the assault, but exhaustion crept in. Hiding in an alcove, the three collapsed together, bodies close for warmth and camouflage. Zara nestled against Jax's side, her hand on his thigh, tracing lazy patterns that stirred him. "Tell us about human love," she cooed, voice laced with curiosity and heat. Sierra leaned in from the other side, her white hair mingling with Zara's, their scents enveloping him. "Yes, show us why your kind defies empires." The moment stretched, suspenseful with the threat outside, erotic in the intimate confessions whispered in the dark, tales of Earth's passions, their reactions a blend of wonder and arousal, hands exploring tentatively, building a bond that transcended species, but alarms shattered the reverie. The king was rallying his full might. Jax rose, determination etched on his face, the princesses following with newfound loyalty and desire. The path to the throne room beckoned, where Climax awaited, hearts and fates intertwined in the stars' cruel game. As they advanced, the palace shook with distant explosions, rebellion spreading. Sierra's hand found Jax's again, squeezing with a mix of fear and longing. "Whatever comes, human, you've awakened us." Zara nodded, her touch bolder, promising ecstasy and victory. The erotic suspense peaked, every step toward confrontation laced with the thrill of what might bloom if they survived. The palace corridors thrummed with the echoes of upheaval, walls vibrating as if the very heart of Thalor beat in fury, distant blasts punctuating the air like thunderclaps from a gathering storm. Sierra's hand lingered in Jax's, her squeeze a silent anchor amid the chaos, her violet eyes reflecting the flickering emergency lights that cast dramatic shadows across her porcelain features. "Whatever comes, human, you've awakened us," she had said, and now those words hung between them like a vow, fueling their charge toward the throne room where destiny awaited its unraveling. Zara, ever the spark of unpredictability, matched their pace with a bold stride, her fingers occasionally brushing Jax's arm in teasing reminders of the promises unspoken, her white hair swaying like a banner of rebellion. As they rounded a corner into a grand atrium, the scale of the drama unfolded before them, a vast chamber where crystalline chandeliers dangled like suspended galaxies, now swaying precariously from the tremors. Loyalist forces had barricaded the far entrance to the throne, a phalanx of armored guards forming a wall of shimmering shields, their telepathic coordination faltering but still deadly. Jax halted the group behind a fallen pillar, his plasma rifle humming softly in his grip, heart pounding with the thrill of the impending clash. "This is it," he murmured, scanning the scene with a tactician's eye. "We break through here, or the king crushes the rebellion before it spreads." Sierra leaned close, her body heat radiating through the thin fabric of her gown, adding a layer of intimate urgency to the high-stakes moment. "Father's elite, they are augmented with neural implants. Your disruptor weakened them, but they'll fight like cornered beasts." Her voice carried a dramatic weight, laced with the curiosity of one witnessing her world fracture. Zara, peering over the edge, added with a thrilling edge of excitement. "And look, slaves are converging from the lower levels. Your spark, Jax, it's igniting everything." Indeed, from side passages, the freed beings poured in, scaled warriors wielding improvised spears, avian creatures with wings clipped but spirits soaring, all drawn by the whispers of liberation. The atrium transformed into a theater of war, the air thick with the scent of ozone from energy weapons and the metallic tang of blood already spilled. Jax felt a surge of human pride, the HFY essence burning bright, one man's ingenuity toppling an empire's chains, but surprise lurked in the shadows. As the first shots rang out, a hidden turret activated, unleashing a barrage that forced Jax to dive, pulling the princesses with him. The impact shook the ground, debris raining down like meteors, and in the dust-clouded confusion, Zara cried out not in pain, but in revelation. The chandeliers, they're wired to the palace grid, overload them. Her idea was curious, born of insider knowledge, and Jax seized it, firing upward to sever a support cable. One massive fixture plummeted, crashing into the Loyalists' line with a deafening roar, shattering shields and scattering bodies in a dramatic explosion of light and sound. Guards screamed, their formations breaking, and the rebels surged forward, turning the tide in a thrilling wave of momentum. Jax led the charge, his movements fluid and precise, dodging plasma arcs that singed the air inches from his skin. Sierra fought beside him, her dagger a blur of silver, slicing through an attacker's armor with lethal grace, her white hair whipping like a storm. "For Thalor reborn," she shouted, her voice echoing dramatically, eyes alight with a surprising fire that Jax hadn't seen before, a princess shedding her royal facade for the raw thrill of revolution. Zara, agile as a shadow, vaulted over a barrier, her veils tearing slightly to reveal more of her gamine form, distracting a guard long enough for Jax to land a stunning blow. "You're enjoying this too much," Jax quipped breathlessly, but her laugh was infectious, a curious blend of danger and delight that heightened the climax building around them. Deeper into the fray, the king's presence loomed larger, his psychic commands still piercing through the disruptor's haze, urging his forces to fanatical heights. A massive enforcer, twice Jax's size, augmented with cybernetic limbs, barreled toward them, its claws extended like scythes. Jax rolled aside, but the beast clipped Sierra, sending her sprawling, Time slowed in that dramatic instant. Jax's heart clenched with thrilling fear, curiosity flashing through his mind. What if he lost her now, after this electric bond? He unleashed a point-blank shot, the plasma boring through the Enforcer's chest plate, but it kept coming, surprising resilience forcing Jax to improvise. Grabbing a loose conduit, he channeled residual energy from his Disruptor, electrocuting the beast in a spectacular arc of blue lightning that lit the atrium like a supernova. Sierra rose, bruised but unbroken, her hand reaching for Jax's in gratitude. You saved me," she gasped, the moment charged with emotion, her touch lingering longer than necessary, reigniting that undercurrent of desire amid the battle's thrill. But there was no time for tenderness. The barricade crumbled under the rebels' assault, and they poured through into the throne room's antechamber, where the true climax awaited. The king's throne loomed at the end of a grand hall, flanked by holographic projections of conquered worlds now flickering with static from the disruptions. He stood defiant, his vine crown pulsing angrily, surrounded by a dwindling cotter of elites. "Foolish human," he bellowed, his voice a dramatic thunder that shook the chandeliers above. "You think to defy the stars' decree? My daughters were to bind you, now they'll watch you perish." Jax advanced, rifle raised, the rebels fanning out in a thrilling encirclement, but curiosity gnawed at him. What drove this tyrant's desperation? Sierra and Zara flanked Jax, their presences a surprising source of strength, their pointed ears alert to every nuance. "Father, end this madness," Sierra pleaded, her tone dramatic and pleading, revealing a depth of familial fracture that added layers to the suspense. The king laughed, a chilling sound, and unleashed a surprising twist. With a gesture, he activated hidden floor panels, releasing swarms of nanobots that swarmed like locusts, targeting the rebels' nervous systems. Screams erupted as allies fell, writhing in agony, the thrill turning to horror. Jax's Disruptor whined in overload, but he adapted, hacking a nearby console to reverse the polarity, nanobots turning on their own, devouring loyalist armor in a curious reversal of fortune. "Not today," Jax growled, his human innovation shining through, the HFY moment peaking as the tide shifted once more. In the chaos, Zara spotted a vulnerability, a control orb in the king's hand, the Empire's failsafe. "The orb, destroy it," she cried, lunging forward with thrilling bravery. A guard intercepted, but Jax covered her, blasts flying in a dramatic duel that left scorch marks on ancient tapestries. Zara snatched the orb, crushing it underfoot, and the holograms died, signaling the Empire's telepathic network collapsing entirely. The king staggered, his power ebbing, but in a final, surprising surge, he charged Jax personally, vines extending like whips, lashing out with psychic force. Jax dodged, countering with a tackle that brought them crashing to the throne's base. Fists flew in a primal struggle, the king's strength augmented but Jax's will unbreakable. Sierra and Zara joined, daggers flashing, their attacks coordinated in a thrilling symphony of sibling synergy. A vine wrapped Jax's throat, squeezing with dramatic intensity, vision blurring, curious thoughts racing. Was this the end, or the birth of something greater? With a surge of adrenaline, Jax broke free, slamming the king against his own throne. The monarch slumped, defeated, his eyes wide with surprise at the human's tenacity. Rebels cheered, the climax cresting in a wave of triumph, but questions lingered. What of the princess's loyalties now? The throne room fell silent save for heavy breaths, the air electric with unresolved curiosity. Sierra approached, her hand on Jax's chest, feeling his racing heart. "It's over," she whispered, but her eyes hinted at new beginnings, thrilling possibilities unfolding. Zara joined, the trio standing amid the ruins, the Empire's fall a surprising canvas for their intertwined fates. Yet, as victory settled, a distant rumble hinted at more, reinforcements from loyal worlds, or perhaps allies drawn by the beacon of freedom. The drama wasn't done. It pulsed onward, curious twists awaiting in the stars. Jax looked to the princesses, their beauty undimmed by battle, and felt the pull stronger than ever. "What now?" he asked, voice laced with thrilling anticipation. Sierra smiled enigmatically. "Now, we rewrite the decree on our terms." The hall echoed with their resolve, the climax giving way to a surprising horizon of hope and desire, humanity's spark illuminating the galaxy's shadows. Sierra's enigmatic smile lingered in the charged air of the throne room, her words, "Now, we rewrite the decree on our terms," hanging like a challenge to the universe itself, as the echoes of rebellion faded into a tense hush. The defeated king slumped against his crystalline throne, vines wilting around his crown like defeated serpents, his once mighty form now a pathetic shadow under the flickering holograms. Rebels milled about, securing the hall with makeshift bindings on the remaining loyalists, their faces a mix of awe and exhaustion, while Jack stood at the center, rifle still warm in his hands, feeling the weight of victory settle uneasily on his shoulders. Hope and desire intertwined in the glances exchanged between him and the princesses, but the galaxy's shadows weren't done playing tricks. Distant rumbles grew louder, signaling incoming ships, loyalist reinforcements, no doubt, drawn by the Empire's distress beacons. Jax wiped sweat from his brow, turning to Sierra with a raised eyebrow. "Rewrite it how? I'm no politician, and last I checked, marrying into tyranny wasn't on my bucket list." His tone aimed for levity, but the drama heightened as alarms blared anew, red lights pulsing across the walls like arterial blood. The princesses exchanged a quick look, Zara's mischievous grin breaking through the tension. "Oh, Commander, you think this is over? Father's fall is just the appetizer. The real feast is dealing with the council elders. They're probably scrambling in their orbital lairs, plotting to crown a puppet in his place." Before Jax could respond, a holographic projection burst to life above the throne, materializing the stern faces of 3 elder Thalorians, ancient beings with skin like weathered marble and eyes glowing with indignant fury. Princess Sierra, Princess Zara, the central elder intoned dramatically, his voice booming like a galactic opera. "You stand accused of high treason. Surrender the human intruder, or we unleash the fleet upon this palace. The decree stands, merge bloodlines or face obliteration." The room erupted in murmurs, rebels gripping weapons tighter, the drama escalating as Jax realized he was still the pawn in a cosmic chess game. Sierra stepped forward, her posture regal yet defiant, white hair cascading dramatically as she addressed the hologram. "Elders, the king is dethroned. The slaves are free. Your outdated decree crumbles like the crystals under our feet." Zara, ever the spark, added with a theatrical flourish, "And if you think we'll hand over our savior, think again. He's got more fire in him than your entire armada." Jax felt an awkward flush creep up his neck. Savior? The word hung there, laden with implications, as the elders' images flickered with outrage. One of them leaned in, his pointed ears twitching. "Insolent child, the human must wed you both to legitimize the transition, or chaos reigns, refuse, and we bombard from orbit." The threat heightened the stakes, the throne room feeling smaller, more claustrophobic, as if the walls themselves conspired against them. In the midst of this interstellar standoff, an awkward situation unfolded when a rebel, a burly scaled warrior from Urindor, clapped Jax on the back with enthusiasm. "Human hero, you fight like a god, marry the princesses? Ha, in my culture, we'd throw a feast with fermented slime wine." The comment landed like a misplaced asteroid, drawing chuckles from some rebels but a dramatic eye roll from Sierra. Jax stammered, caught off guard. "Whoa, easy there. I'm not exactly ring shopping in the middle of a revolution." Zara burst into laughter, her voice tinkling like crystals, adding humor to the tension. "Slime wine? Sounds romantic. Jax, darling, would you prefer that over our royal nectar? It might loosen you up for the ceremony." The light-hearted jab eased the air momentarily, but drama surged back as the elders issued an ultimatum. "You have 1 cycle, 30 Earth minutes to comply, or the fleet fires." The hologram vanished, leaving the room in stunned silence, the awkwardness amplifying as all eyes turned to Jax and the princesses. He rubbed his temples, feeling the absurdity. "This is insane. 1 minute I'm scouting anomalies, the next I'm in a shotgun wedding with alien royalty while dodging orbital strikes. Anyone got a better plan?" Sierra's expression softened, her hand finding his arm in a gesture that mixed comfort and command, heightening the intimate drama. "Jax, the decree was father's tool for control, but we can twist it. Marry us symbolically, bind alliances, not just bloodlines. It buys time." Zara sidled up on his other side, her veils brushing his uniform in a way that was both distracting and endearing. "Symbolically? Boring, make it fun. Imagine the elders' faces if we turn it into a spectacle." Her wink added a humorous twist, but the underlying awkwardness was palpable. Jax, a lone wolf explorer, suddenly the center of a romantic entanglement that could save or doom billions. As rebels fortified positions, Jax found himself in a side chamber with the princesses, the drama building in the confined space scented with lingering incense. "Look, I'm flattered, really," he said, pacing awkwardly, his boots echoing on the obsidian floor. "But marriage? I've dodged asteroids less complicated than this." Sierra approached, her curves accentuated by the torn gown, eyes locking onto his with dramatic intensity. It's not just politics, Jax. You've stirred something in us, freedom, passion. Humans like you, you're intoxicating. Her voice dropped, the air thickening with unspoken desire, but Zara interrupted with a playful shove. Sister, don't scare him off. He's turning redder than a supernova. Jax, admit it, you find our ears cute, don't you? Pointy and all. Jax chuckled despite himself, the humor diffusing the awkward heat. Cute. There, unique, like everything here. But seriously, how do we pull off a symbolic wedding under fire? The princesses shared a knowing smile, heightening the curiosity, and Zara pulled a hidden panel, revealing ceremonial robes, flowing garments embroidered with glowing threads. Put this on, it's tradition, and hurry, the fleet's closing in. Jax stared at the robe, which looked more like a fancy bathrobe than armor. You're kidding? I fight empires in my uniform, not a dress. Sierra's laughter joined Zara's, the sound light amid the drama. It's not a dress, it's regal attire. Think of it as camouflage for diplomacy. The awkward hilarity peaked as Jax shrugged into the robe, the fabric clinging oddly, making him feel like a kid in oversized clothes. I look ridiculous, he muttered, adjusting the collar that kept slipping to reveal his scarred shoulder. Zara circled him appraisingly, her fingers trailing the hem with teasing intent. Nonsense, you look edible. The elders will choke on their vines. Sierra nodded, her touch lingering on his chest to straighten a fold, the contact sending a dramatic spark through him. It's perfect. Now, the vow, repeat after me, in Star's witness, I bind my fate to Thalor's light. As they rehearsed, alarms wailed louder, heightening the drama, reinforcements breaching outer defenses, blasts rocking the palace. Rebels shouted updates, they're landing troops. Jax finished the vow hastily, the words feeling strangely binding, awkward in their sincerity. Okay, we're married, now what? The princesses pulled him toward the throne, where a communication array awaited. We broadcast it, claimed the Empire in unity. But as the hologram reactivated, the elders appeared, flanked by fleet commanders, their faces twisted in dramatic shock at the sight of Jax in royal garb. You dare mock the decree? The central elder thundered. Jax, embracing the absurdity, stepped forward with humorous bravado. Mock? Nah, we're innovating. Humanity's specialty, turning threats into parties. Care to join the reception? Zara stifled a giggle, Sierra's eyes shining with pride, the awkward situation evolving into a thrilling standoff. The elders hesitated, the fleet holding fire, curiosity overriding fury. Explain yourselves, one demanded dramatically. Sierra took the lead, her voice resonant. The human has wed us by choice, not force. His innovation frees us all, join the new order, or be left in the dust of history. The drama crested as the elders conferred, whispers audible over the link, the palace shaking from skirmishes below. Jax added humorously, and if you bombard us, you'll miss the slime wine toast. The line drew reluctant chuckles even from the hologram, lightening the tension but underscoring the high stakes. In that suspended moment, awkward alliances formed, some elders defecting via secret channels, swayed by the broadcast's reach to enslaved worlds. But not all. A splinter fleet advanced, heightening the peril. Jack shed the robe for his rifle, the princesses arming beside him. Time for the honeymoon battle style, he quipped, the humor a shield against the drama. Zara kissed his cheek impulsively. Lead on, husband. Sierra followed suit on the other side, the gestures awkward yet endearing, sealing their bond in fire. As they rushed to the battlements, the awkwardness of their hasty union fueled a deeper connection, drama weaving through every step. Reinforcements stormed the gates, lasers clashing with rebel fire, the palace a cauldron of chaos. Jax directed defenses with human strategy, turning choke points into kill zones, his commands crisp amid the thunder. A loyalist squad breached a side door, forcing a close-quarters brawl, Jax grappling with a cybernetic foe, the princesses covering him with precise shots. Zara's vibroblade hummed, slicing through armor, while Sierra's dagger danced lethally. The fight intensified dramatically, bodies piling as the fleet loomed overhead, shadows eclipsing the suns. In an awkward twist, a rebel mistook Jax's robe remnants for a flag, waving it triumphantly, drawing enemy fire but also inspiring cheers. Our king's banner. The rebel yelled, Jax groaned humorously, I'm not, never mind. The moment lightened the grim scene, but drama peaked when a bombardment shook the foundations, cracking the throne room dome. Sierra pulled Jax from debris, her body shielding his in a dramatic embrace. We can't hold forever. Zara joined, the trio huddled as options dwindled. Then, Surprising aid, defecting elders jammed the fleet's comms, turning ships against each other in orbital pandemonium. The awkward wedding broadcast had viraled, sparking galaxy-wide uprisings. As the loyalists faltered, Jax led a countercharge, the drama resolving in a whirlwind of action, blasts, shouts, and the sweet tang of victory. The princesses fought fiercely, their allure undimmed. Awkward humor in Zara's quips. Husband, duck. Heightened emotions bonded them, the empire teetering on rebirth. With the immediate threat quelled, they returned to the throne, breaths heavy, the awkward union now a symbol of hope, but whispers of lingering threats lingered, drama promising more twists in their stellar saga. With the immediate threat quelled, they returned to the throne, breaths heavy and ragged from the fray. The awkward union now a symbol of hope that pulsed through the battered palace like a newfound heartbeat. Rebels cheered sporadically, securing the halls and tending to the wounded. But Jax, Sierra, and Zara slipped away into a secluded antechamber adjacent to the throne room, a private sanctuary once reserved for royal reflections, now a haven amid the empire's rebirth. The air here was thicker, scented with the faint remnants of exotic blooms that had survived the chaos, their petals scattered like confetti across the plush carpets. Dim lights from crystalline sconces cast a warm, inviting glow, softening the edges of exhaustion on their faces and highlighting the subtle sheen of sweat on their skin. Jax leaned against an ornate pillar, his uniform torn and singed, chest rising and falling as he caught his breath. That was close, too close, but we did it. The elders are fracturing, the fleet's in disarray. His voice carried a mix of triumph and weariness, eyes flicking between the princesses who stood close, their own attire disheveled yet somehow enhancing their ethereal beauty. Sierra's gown clung to her curves from the exertion, the silver fabric translucent in places where it had been dampened by the heat of battle, while Zara's veils had loosened, draping teasingly over her lithe form. The wedding robe Jax had shed lay forgotten on the floor, a humorous relic of their earlier charade. But the bond it represented felt real now, charged with the intimacy forged in fire. Sierra stepped nearer, her violet eyes locking onto his with an intensity that made the room feel smaller, more personal. You led us through the storm, Jax. Without you, we'd still be prisoners of tradition. Her hand reached out, fingers tracing the line of his jaw gently, a touch that sent a warm ripple through him, awakening sensations he'd pushed aside during the fight. Zara joined seamlessly, her playful energy shifting to something softer, more inviting, as she pressed against his other side. And that honeymoon quip, it wasn't entirely a joke, husband. Her voice was a low murmur, laced with affection, her small pointed ears brushing his shoulder as she leaned in. The awkward humor from moments ago evaporated, replaced by a deepening connection that had been building since their first encounter. Jax felt his pulse quicken, the adrenaline of battle morphing into a different kind of rush, one fueled by the closeness of these remarkable women who saw him not as an intruder, but as their equal, their spark. All of this is new territory for me, he admitted softly, his hands finding their waists naturally, pulling them closer in the quiet sanctuary. The drama of the day had stripped away pretenses, leaving raw emotions exposed, and in that vulnerability, desire bloomed like a star going supernova. Sierra's lips curved into a tender smile, her white hair falling forward as she tilted her head, brushing a kiss against his cheek, light at first, then lingering, her breath warm and inviting. Let us show you our gratitude, Jax. In Thalor, unions are celebrated with closeness, a sharing of essences that bind souls. Her words were poetic, evoking a sense of ritual without pressure, her body molding against his in a way that spoke volumes. Zara nodded, her touch bolder yet gentle, fingers interlacing with his as she guided his hand to her hip. No rush, no expectations, just us, exploring what this means. The room's ambience amplified the moment, the soft hum of the palace's recovering systems a distant lullaby. They moved together toward a wide, cushioned divan draped in luxurious silks, the fabric cool against their heated skin as they sank onto it. Jax's heart raced with a mix of curiosity and anticipation, his human instincts blending with the alien allure before him. Sierra initiated, her kisses trailing from his jaw to his lips, soft and exploratory, tasting of the sweet nectar that seemed innate to her kind, a subtle flavor that heightened his senses. Zara mirrored her sister, her lips finding the curve of his neck, nibbling gently in a way that sent shivers down his spine. Her laughter a soft vibration against his skin when he gasped. The encounter unfolded with a natural rhythm, their bodies responding to each other in harmonious waves. Jax's hands roamed respectfully, feeling the smooth contours of Sierra's back through the thin gown, the warmth of her skin inviting further exploration. She arched slightly under his touch, a quiet sigh escaping her as she pressed closer, their forms intertwining in a dance of mutual discovery. Zara added a playful element, her fingers tracing patterns on his chest, unfastening what remained of his uniform with deft care, revealing the scars of past adventures that she kissed with reverence. "You're a canvas of stories," she whispered, her violet eyes gleaming with admiration. Time seemed to stretch in the sanctuary, the outside world's whispers of lingering threats fading into irrelevance as they focused on the present. Sensations built gradually, the gentle pressure of bodies aligning, the shared breaths quickening, the subtle shifts that brought them deeper into intimacy. Jax marveled at the differences and similarities. Their skin, so soft and luminous, responded to his caresses with a faint glow, a Thalorian trait that added a magical layer to the experience. Sierra's movements were graceful and assured, guiding with whispers and touches that conveyed her desires, while Zara's were more spontaneous, eliciting soft chuckles when a veil tangled awkwardly, turning potential mishaps into endearing moments. In this private realm, they explored the boundaries of their connection, each touch an affirmation of the bond forged in rebellion. Jax felt enveloped in their affection, his own responses growing more confident, reciprocating with kisses that drew contented murmurs from both. The act was one of unity, a blending of human passion and alien elegance, where pleasure was shared equally, building to peaks of ecstasy that left them breathless and entwined. Soft exclamations filled the air, names whispered like prayers, encouragements murmured in the heat of the moment, creating a tapestry of emotional and physical fulfillment. As the intensity crested and subsided, they lay together in a tangle of limbs and silks, the afterglow wrapping them like a cocoon. Sierra nestled against his chest, her white hair splayed across him, while Zara curled on his other side, her hand resting possessively on his thigh. "That was beyond words," Jax murmured, his voice husky with satisfaction, fingers idly stroking their hair. Sierra lifted her head, planting a soft kiss on his lips. "It's only the beginning, Jax. Our essences are linked now, stronger than any decree." Zara hummed in agreement, her tone light yet sincere, and way more fun than father's stuffy rituals. The sanctuary provided a brief respite, but the galaxy's demands crept back in, a soft chime from a comm device signaling incoming messages from allied rebels, reports of stabilizing fronts. Yet in this stolen interlude, they had solidified their trio, turning awkward alliances into profound intimacy. Jax felt renewed, the human spirit's resilience amplified by their shared warmth, as they dressed leisurely, touches lingering with promise. The whispers of threats outside seemed less daunting, their unity a shield against whatever twists awaited. Rising from the divan, Sierra adjusted her gown with graceful poise, her glow more pronounced now, a subtle sign of their connection. "The council won't wait forever. We must address the fleet's remnants." Zara nodded, tying her veils with a wink at Jax. "But after that, more celebrations like this." He chuckled, pulling them into a group embrace, the moment sealing their path forward, venturing back toward the throne room, hand in hand. The drama of the Empire's future loomed, but their bond provided an anchor. Whispers from scouts confirmed loyalist pockets persisting, heightening the need for strategy. Yet the intimacy they shared infused Jax with unyielding determination. The stars held more challenges, but together, they were unbreakable, venturing back toward the throne room, hand in hand. The trio stepped out from the sanctuary with a renewed sense of purpose, their bond fortified by the intimate moments shared that lingered like a warm afterglow on their skin. Whispers from scouts filtered through the corridors, confirming pockets of loyalist resistance still simmering in the outer wings, heightening the need for swift strategy. Yet the closeness they had just embraced infused Jax with an unyielding determination that made every step feel charged with potential. The stars beyond the palace's fractured dome seemed to wink in approval, holding more challenges in their vast expanse. But together, they felt unbreakable, a human and two alien princesses rewriting the galaxy's script. As they entered the Grand Hall, the scene that greeted them was one of cautious optimism, rebels organizing supplies, holographic maps flickering with updates on the splintered fleet, and the deposed king bound securely at the throne's base, his vine crown dimmed to a faint flicker. Jax released Sierra's and Zara's hands reluctantly, his fingers brushing theirs in a final, tender promise before he approached a cluster of rebel leaders, a mix of freed slaves from distant worlds, their faces etched with gratitude and resolve. Status report. He commanded, slipping back into his explorer's mindset, voice steady despite the whirlwind of emotions swirling within. One rebel, a feathered avian from Nethuria, bowed slightly. Commander, the Elder's defection is holding. Half the fleet has pledged loyalty to the new order. But scouts report anomalous readings from the palace core, energy spikes, like something awakening. Jax frowned, glancing at the princesses who had joined him, their expressions mirroring his curiosity. Sierra tilted her head, her white hair catching the light. The core, that's the ancient vault sealed for generations. Father's amplifiers drew from it, but we never accessed the depths. Zara added, her playful tone edged with unease. Legends say it's the heart of Thalor, guardian of our origins. Could your disruptor have stirred it? The words hung in the air, a subtle undercurrent of mystery threading through the victory's aftertaste. Jax nodded to the rebel. Lead us there. If it's a threat, we neutralize it now. As they descended through secured lifts into the palace's underbelly, the atmosphere shifted, cooler, humming with an ethereal energy that made the hairs on Jax's arms stand on end. The corridors narrowed, walls etched with glowing runes that pulsed faintly, telling stories of Thalor's ancient past in symbols that danced just beyond comprehension. Sierra traced one with her finger, her touch igniting a brief flare. These speak of the First Union, a merging of species that birthed our empire, but details were lost to time. Zara walked closer to Jax, her veils whispering against the stone floor, her hand slipping into his again for reassurance. Whatever it is, we'll face it together, like everything else today. Her violet eyes sparkled with that familiar mischief, but Jax sensed a deeper vulnerability, a crack in her usual bravado that made him squeeze her hand tighter. The group arrived at massive vault doors, sealed with intricate locks that the rebels had partially bypassed using Jax's improvised tech. With a groan of protesting metal, the doors parted, revealing a cavernous chamber bathed in a soft, blue luminescence emanating from a central pedestal. Atop it sat a crystalline orb, larger than a man, swirling with inner lights that seemed alive, conscious. Jax approached cautiously, his disruptor device, now jury-rigged into a scanner, humming in his pocket. This is the source of the spikes. The avian rebel confirmed with a nod. Yes, and it's accelerating. Sierra and Zara flanked him, their pointed ears twitching as if attuned to the orb's frequency. As Jax scanned it, the orb pulsed brighter, and a holographic figure materialized above it, an ethereal woman, her form reminiscent of Thalorian royalty, but with features that blended human and alien traits: warm brown eyes, flowing dark hair, and skin that shimmered like the princess's but with an earthly tan. The projection spoke, her voice echoing with a melodic resonance that filled the chamber. At last, the catalyst arrives. Commander Jax Harlan, child of Earth, your innovation has unlocked the seal. The group froze, surprise rippling through them like a shockwave. Jax's mind raced. Who was this? How did she know his name? But the true twist unfurled as the hologram continued, her gaze shifting to Sierra and Zara with familial warmth. My daughters, you have played your roles well. Sierra gasped, stepping back, her porcelain face paling. Mother, but you perished cycles ago in the Great Schism. Zara's hand flew to her mouth, eyes wide. The legends, the First Union, you're the guardian. The hologram Queen Alara, as she revealed, nodded, her form stabilizing as the orb's energy surged. Not perished, but ascended. I am the essence of Thalor's founder, preserved in this AI matrix to await a worthy unifier. The Empire's telepathic control was my design, a safeguard against chaos, but it corrupted under your father's rule. The decree to wed outsiders. My prophecy, embedded in the runes, to summon a human of ingenuity. Jax, your device didn't just disrupt, it fulfilled the awakening, proving humanity's worth as equals, not conquerors. The revelation hit like a pulsar blast, surprising twists layering upon each other. Jax reeled the entire capture, the ultimatum, the rebellion. It had all been orchestrated, not by the king, but by this ancient intelligence guiding from the shadows. You manipulated everything, he demanded, voice laced with betrayal, though his HFY core burned brighter, humans as the prophesied saviors. Alara's hologram softened. Not manipulation, but a test. The king believed he wielded power, but I influenced the decree through subtle whispers in his mind. Sierra and Zara, you felt the pull instinctively, drawing the human here. Your bonds are genuine, born of free will, but seeded by destiny. Sierra turned to Jax, tears glistening in her violet eyes, the drama of the moment heightening her vulnerability. We didn't know, not fully, but the attraction, The choice to stand with you, it was real. Zara nodded fervently, gripping his arm. Mother's essence called to us in dreams, urging us to seek a hero from the stars. We thought it folklore until now. The surprise deepened as Alara revealed more. The Empire faced a greater peril, an invading armada from the void beyond the galaxy, ancient enemies awakened by the same energy spikes. The Disruptor has signaled them, but also empowered you. Jax, your human resilience, combined with Thalorian essence, can repel them, but only if the union is complete, not symbolic, but through shared consciousness. The chamber trembled, not from battle, but from the orb's activation, interfaces blooming around them like digital flowers. Rebels murmured in awe, the avian leader whispering, "The legends come alive." Jax felt the weight of the twist, a powerful pivot from victor to cosmic pawn, yet opportunity. Surprise gave way to resolve. Humanity didn't just survive tests, they aced them. "If this is the path, show us how," he said, stepping forward, the princesses at his sides, their hands finding his in unity. Alara's hologram smiled. "Enter the matrix. Merge minds, unlock the arsenal hidden in Thaler's core, weapons of thought, shields of will." As interfaces enveloped them, neural links forming with gentle hums, Jax's thoughts intertwined with Sierra's and Zara's, flashes of memories, emotions, desires blending in a surprising symphony. He saw their childhoods under the king's shadow, felt their genuine pull toward him, and in return, shared Earth's tales of defiance. The process was intimate, deeper than physical bonds, revealing hidden layers, Zara's secret fear of inadequacy, Sierra's buried longing for freedom, but the ultimate surprise struck mid-merge, a vision from Alara, Jax's own lineage traced back to a lost Thalorian expedition to Earth millennia ago, infusing humanity with subtle alien traits. "You are the bridge, Jax, part human, part us. That's why your device worked so flawlessly." The revelation stunned him, explaining his innate resistance to telepathy, his innovative spark. HFY elevated. Humans weren't outsiders, they were long-lost kin, evolved in isolation to become the galaxy's wild cards. As the merge completed, power surged through them, telepathic enhancements, strategic insights flooding their minds. The chamber stabilized, Alara's voice guiding, the invader's approach. "With this, you command the Empire's true might." Jax emerged transformed, eyes glowing faintly violet, the princesses similarly empowered, their bond unbreakable. Rebels bowed in reverence, the twist redefining everything, from captives to conquerors, now guardians against a universal threat, venturing upward. Alerts blared of the incoming armada, massive ships blotting the stars, but with the surprise empowerment, Jax felt ready. "Let's show them what a real union looks like," he declared, Sierra and Zara smiling fiercely beside him. The palace mobilized, ancient defenses awakening, the powerful twist propelling them into a new chapter of stellar heroism. Yet, as they ascended, Alara's final whisper echoed in their minds, "Beware the invaders seek the orb, protect it or all is lost." The surprise lingered, a hook into greater mysteries, their trio the galaxy's last hope. Yet, as they ascended through the palace's revitalized lifts, Alara's final whisper echoing in their minds like a persistent shadow. "Beware, the invaders seek the orb. Protect it, or all is lost." The surprise of their newfound heritage and powers lingered, a hook into greater mysteries that positioned their trio as the galaxy's last hope, transforming the once familiar corridors into pathways of impending doom. The lift hummed with the same ethereal energy that now coursed through their veins, neural links pulsing faintly under their skin, granting glimpses of each other's thoughts, Sierra's strategic calm, Zara's bubbling excitement, and Jax's human skepticism weaving into a shared consciousness that felt both empowering and oddly invasive. Jax shook his head slightly, trying to compartmentalize the flood of sensations, but a stray thought from Zara slipped through, an image of him in the ceremonial robe from earlier, looking comically regal, which drew an involuntary chuckle from him amid the rising tension. The lift doors parted onto the command bridge, a sprawling overlook atop the palace, once the king's private vista. Now commandeered by rebels who bustled about holographic consoles displaying the encroaching armada. Massive void ships blotched the starfield like ink spills on a canvas, their hulls jagged and ominous, emanating scans that prickled Jax's enhanced senses. Drama heightened immediately as alarms wailed, red holograms flashing warnings of imminent breach. "They're accelerating," a rebel technician shouted, feathers ruffling in panic. "Shields at 70%, ancient defenses online, but we've never tested them against this." Jax strode forward, the princesses at his flanks, their presence a unified front that commanded instant respect. But as he interfaced with a console, his mind linking seamlessly via the merge, pulling up tactical overlays, an awkward situation unfolded when a stray neural echo broadcasted a private memory, Zara's recollection of their intimate sanctuary moment. A flash of tangled silks and soft sighs that inadvertently projected to nearby rebels. Faces flushed across the bridge, the avian technician squawking in surprise. Was that intentional? Zara's cheeks glowed a faint luminescent pink, her pointed ears drooping slightly. Oops, mind merge side effect, human thoughts are so vivid. Jax coughed awkwardly, heat rising to his face. Focus, everyone, blame the orb for the peep show. The quip elicited nervous laughter, lightening the drama just enough to refocus the crew, but the humor underscored the vulnerability of their new bond. Thoughts slipping like soap in a bath, Sierra, ever the composed one, placed a steadying hand on Jax's shoulder, her touch grounding him as she amplified her thoughts through the link. Channel it. The invaders are probing our defenses, feel their intent. Jax closed his eyes briefly, the merge allowing him to sense the Armada's collective malice, a cold, hive-like hunger for the orb's power. Drama escalated as the lead ship fired a warning salvo, energy lances streaking across the void to impact the palace's shields in brilliant explosions that shook the bridge. Incoming transmission, Zara announced, her fingers dancing over controls with newfound precision from the enhancement. A hologram flickered to life, revealing the invader's commander, a grotesque figure with multiple eyes and tendrils writhing like living shadows. Its voice a grating chorus that echoed in their minds. Thalorians, it intoned dramatically. Surrender the heart orb, relic of the ancients. We, Void Collective, claim it as our birthright. Resist, and your worlds become dust. The threat hung heavy, heightening the stakes to cosmic proportions, the bridge crew exchanging fearful glances. Jax stepped into the hologram's view, his enhanced eyes glowing faintly violet, projecting defiance. You picked the wrong day to crash the party. This orb stays with us, find your own toys. The commander's tendrils lashed in fury, but Zara couldn't resist adding humor, leaning in with a smirk. Besides, it's not for sale, we just had it detailed human style. The quip, broadcasted accidentally through the link, elicited a puzzled hiss from the commander, buying a momentary stall as rebels stifled chuckles. But awkwardness peaked when the merge glitched under stress, a surge of shared emotions flooding the trio. Jax felt Sierra's buried fear of losing her homeworld, Zara's impulsive urge to charge headlong, and in return, they glimpsed his human doubts. Was he truly part Thalorian, or just a cosmic accident? The vulnerability hit at the worst time, as another salvo rocked the palace, shields dipping to 50%. Get it together. Jax barked at himself, but the words echoed mentally, drawing sympathetic nods from the princesses. Sierra squeezed his hand. We're in this mess because of you, and it's the best mess ever. Her tone mixed drama with affection, but Zara lightened it. Yeah, who knew saving the galaxy came with free mind reading? Next time, warn us about your embarrassing Earth songs stuck in your head. Jax groaned humorously. Hey, Bohemian Rhapsody is a classic, motivates in a pinch. The humor served as a brief anchor, but drama surged as the invaders deployed boarding pods, sleek darts piercing the atmosphere, aimed at the palace core. They are after the orb directly. The technician yelped. Jax activated the ancient defenses through the merge, his mind interfacing with hidden turrets that bloomed from the palace spires like metallic flowers, unleashing volleys of psychic energy that disrupted the pod's trajectories. Several exploded mid-descent, debris raining like fiery meteors, but others landed, disgorging tendril-wielding warriors that slithered through breached halls below. Chaos erupted in the lower levels, rebels engaging in fierce skirmishes relayed via live feeds. Jax, Sierra, and Zara rushed to a tactical overlook, the merge allowing them to coordinate remotely, Jax directing fire teams with human guerrilla tactics, Sierra anticipating enemy moves through Thalorian intuition, Zara adding unpredictable flair by hacking pod remnants to turn against their makers. But an awkward hiccup arose when Zara's impulsive thought overrode a command, sending a squad into a dead-end corridor. Zara, Jax exclaimed mentally, frustration tinged with amusement. Your shortcut just turned them into sitting ducks. She winced, her veils swirling as she corrected it. Sorry, got distracted by your worry for us. It's sweet, but focus on not getting tentacle-hugged. The light banter amid the drama kept morale afloat, rebels overhearing through comms and chuckling despite the peril. Drama heightened dramatically as the commander beamed another message, its multiple eyes narrowing. Your hybrid abomination, the human Thalorian, interests us. Surrender him, and we spare your queens. The offer dripped with menace, targeting Jax's newfound heritage, stirring awkward doubts in the trio's shared mind. Sierra's thoughts flashed protective, over my glowing corpse. Zara added humor, hey, if they want a date with you, they should have asked nicely, not with an armada. Jax laughed inwardly, but the situation turned dire when a boarding party breached the core vault. Tendrils coiling toward the orb, they teleported down via emergency beams, a perk of the merge, materializing in the chamber amid laser fire and writhing shadows. The invaders were nightmarish up close, their forms shifting like smoke, but the trio's enhanced abilities shone. Jax's Disruptor evolved into a psychic blade, slicing through tendrils with precision. Sierra channeled barriers of light, shielding the orb. Zara danced through the fray, her vibroblade augmented to disrupt their hive links. Drama peaked in the melee, a tendril ensnared Jax, lifting him dramatically, its cold grip siphoning energy. Jax! Sierra cried, her dagger flashing to sever it, but Zara quipped through gritted teeth. Not today, squid face, he's taken. Her strike freed him, the humor a spark in the tension, as they repelled the assault. Awkward revelations surfaced via the link, flashes of Alara's deeper secrets, hinting the invaders were corrupted descendants of Thalor's exiles, seeking the orb to purify their form. Family reunion from hell, Jax muttered humorously, dodging a lash. The battle intensified, bodies piling as reinforcements arrived, rebels inspired by the trio's synergy. In a climactic surge, Jax overclocked the orb's energy through the merge, unleashing a wave that banished the invaders back to their pods, the commander's hologram flickering in defeat. This isn't over, hybrid. We returned stronger. Panting amid the wreckage, the trio leaned on each other, drama ebbing but awkward bonds deeper. Sierra kissed Jax's forehead. You were magnificent. Zara grinned, and hot, sweaty hero vibe works for you. Jax rolled his eyes humorously. Flattery after near death? Aliens are weird. But as alerts warned of the Armada's retreat, temporary, no doubt their laughter echoed, a brief respite before the next wave, venturing back to the bridge. Thoughts intertwined, they planned countermeasures, the invaders' threat looming larger. Yet, in the heightened drama, awkward intimacies, and humorous quips, their unity promised resilience. The galaxy watched, fates hanging by a thread, but with humanity's spark at the core, hope burned eternal. Venturing back to the bridge, thoughts intertwined like the roots of an ancient cosmic tree. They planned countermeasures with a seamless flow of ideas passing between them, the invaders' threat looming larger on the holographic displays, their jagged ships regrouping at the system's edge like predators circling wounded prey. Yet, in the heightened drama of those final skirmishes, the awkward intimacies of their merged minds, and the humorous quips that punctuated tense moments, their unity promised resilience that no armada could shatter. The galaxy watched through distant sensors and whispered transmissions, fates hanging by a thread, but with humanity's spark at the core. Jax's unyielding ingenuity blended with Thalorian grace, hope burned eternal, a beacon drawing allies from the shadows. As they reached the bridge, the crew parted in reverence, eyes wide at the faint violet auras now emanating from the trio, a visible mark of their evolution. Jax took the central console, his fingers, guided by shared knowledge, dancing over controls that once would have baffled him. Awakening dormant planetary defenses, orbital cannons humming to life, shield grids expanding like blooming nebulae. Sierra stood to his left, her porcelain hand on his shoulder, channeling predictive algorithms through the link to anticipate the invaders' maneuvers. Zara flanked his right, her playful energy now honed into tactical brilliance, hacking into enemy comms to sow discord with fabricated distress signals. Listen to this, she murmured with a grin, broadcasting a looped message of the commander's voice admitting defeat, humorous sabotage that elicited chuckles from the crew, easing the knot of fear in the air. The drama reached its zenith as the Void Collective launched their all-out assault, ships diving through the atmosphere in a swarm of darkness, tendrils extending to latch onto the palace like parasitic vines. Explosions rocked the structure, debris cascading in fiery trails, but the trio's synergy turned the tide. Jax felt every pulse of the battle through the merge, Sierra's calm resolve steadying his aim as he directed precision strikes, vaporizing lead vessels in bursts of light. Zara's quick wit spotting weaknesses, like a structural flaw in the mothership's core, which she exploited with a viral code that made its systems rebel against itself. "Take that, you oversized calamari," Zara quipped mentally, her laughter bubbling through their link, a spark of humor amid the chaos that kept Jax grounded, reminding him of the human joy and defiance. Allies arrived unbidden, defected Elders' fleets warping in from hyperspace, inspired by the broadcasted merge, their ships forming a protective phalanx. Freed slaves from conquered worlds joined the fray, piloting salvaged fighters with ferocious zeal, their cries of liberation echoing across frequencies. The palace trembled under the onslaught, corridors buckling, but in a pivotal moment, Jax channeled the orb's full power through their bond, unleashing a galaxy-spanning psychic wave that disrupted the invaders' hive mind. Tendrils recoiled, ships spiraling out of control, the commander's hologram fracturing into static as it wailed in collective agony. "You cannot contain the void." It screeched, but Jax's response, amplified through the link, boomed back, "We don't contain it, we illuminate it." The Armada shattered, remnants fleeing into the dark expanse from whence they came, pursued by allied pursuers who ensured no quarter. As the last echoes of battle faded, silence descended, a profound quiet broken only by the hum of stabilizing systems and the distant cheers of rebels below. Jax slumped against the console, exhaustion washing over him, but Sierra and Zara pulled him into an embrace, their bodies warm and reassuring, the merge allowing him to feel their relief as his own, a tapestry of emotions weaving triumph with tender affection. "We did it," Sierra whispered, her violet eyes shining with unshed tears, her white hair mingling with Zara's as they rested foreheads against his. Zara added softly, "and without losing our sense of humor or each other." In the aftermath, the galaxy transformed. The Empire of Thalor, reborn as the Thalorian Alliance, dismantled its chains of control, with Jax, Sierra, and Zara at the helm, not as rulers, but as guides. The orb's secrets unfolded gradually, revealing technologies that bridged species, fostering peace where tyranny once reigned. Jax's human heritage became legend. The HFY ethos spreading like wildfire, aliens might propose empires, but humans proposed freedom for all, turning foes into family. Awkward moments persisted in their new life, the merge occasionally broadcasting private thoughts during council meetings, leading to flushed faces and light-hearted apologies, but these only deepened their bond, turning vulnerabilities into strengths. Years blurred into cycles, the trio exploring uncharted stars together aboard a refitted scout ship, their love a constant amid the cosmos wonders. Sierra's commanding grace complemented Jax's innovation, while Zara's mischief kept their adventures alive with laughter. They raised a new generation, hybrids of human and Thalorian blood, teaching them the power of unity, where pointed ears and storm-cloud eyes symbolized harmony. One evening, under an alien sunset painting the sky in hues of violet and gold, Jax stood with his arms around them, watching their children play among glowing flora. Who would have thought a crash landing would lead to this? He mused, voice thick with emotion. Sierra leaned into him, her curves fitting perfectly as always. Fate, or perhaps mother's guiding hand, but we chose it every step. Zara kissed his cheek, her touch sparking that familiar electricity. "And I'd choose it again, squid invasions and all. You're our hero, Jax, our everything." As stars twinkled overhead, promising endless tomorrows, Jax felt complete, the galaxy's vastness no longer lonely but filled with possibility. Humanity's spark had ignited a new era, where love conquered voids and alliances forged in fire endured eternal. In quiet moments, Jax reflected on the journey from captive to kingmaker, outsider to integral thread in the cosmic tapestry. The awkward proposals, dramatic battles, and humorous mishaps had all led here to a good ending that was merely a beginning. The orb pulsed faintly in the palace below, a guardian watching over their legacy, ensuring that freedom's light never dimmed. And as the trio ventured forth, hand in hand, the stars themselves seemed to whisper approval, echoing the unbreakable will of those who dared to dream beyond the decree. And so, as the stars aligned in peaceful harmony, Jax, Sierra, and Zara ventured into the unknown, their unbreakable bond a testament to humanity's enduring spirit. What adventures await them next? That's a story for another time. Personally, I love how this tale celebrates human ingenuity and cross-species love. It's epic and heartwarming. What do you think? Should Jax face more cosmic threats? Thank you for watching. Your likes, subs, comments, and shares are our biggest motivation to create even better stories.